Have you ever faced a moment when worry and love collide, leaving your heart in suspense? In today's story, Toan is torn with concern as he notices Diem feeling unwell and unusually anxious. Seeking guidance, he turns to his wise sister, Tue, who uncovers that Diem's delayed cycle might hint at an unexpected pregnancy. Together, they gently confront Diem and decide to visit the hospital for a definitive checkup. Will their fears be confirmed or relieved? Stay tuned because this heartfelt journey is filled with tension, care, and unwavering support. And don't forget to subscribe to follow every twist of their emotional story.
Toan sat quietly in the soft glow of the living room, the late afternoon sunlight streaming through the curtains, casting warm streaks across the polished wooden floor. His fingers drummed nervously on the edge of the sofa, betraying the tension that had been building inside him for days. For the first time in a long while, he felt the weight of uncertainty pressing down on his chest, making it difficult to breathe freely. It wasn't a trivial concern. This was about Diem, the person who had become the center of his world, whose smile could light up his darkest days. Lately, however, something seemed off. She appeared tired more often than usual, her laughter a little more forced, her expressions tinged with unease. Toan's heart clenched at the thought, and he realized he could no longer keep his worries to himself. With a hesitant sigh, he reached for his phone but quickly put it down again. No message, no text could convey what he felt as clearly as a conversation with someone who knew him inside and out. That someone was his sister, Tue, older, wiser, and always grounded, a steady presence in the chaotic tides of his life. He had shared countless memories and secrets with her over the years, but today his voice trembled slightly as he approached her. "Tue, I don't know what to do," he began, running a hand through his hair. "Diem, she's been acting differently. She's tired all the time and sometimes she seems uncomfortable, like something's wrong inside her. I don't know if I should say something or if I'm overthinking." Tue turned to him, her gaze immediately softening with concern. She could feel the unease radiating from him, the tension that had been quietly gnawing at his spirit. "Toan," she said gently, placing a comforting hand on his shoulder, "you're not overreacting. You care about her, and that's completely natural. But worrying alone won't help either of you. Let's figure this out together." Her voice was calm, steady, a subtle anchor in the storm that had been brewing in his mind. She had a way of speaking that could make even the most anxious heart slow its frantic pace, and Toan felt a glimmer of relief. Encouraged by her presence, Toan explained everything he had noticed: the subtle fatigue in Diem's movements, the fleeting discomfort she seemed to carry, the way she sometimes avoided certain topics with a nervous smile. As he spoke, Tue listened intently, her eyes never leaving his, absorbing every detail with the quiet patience that only an older sister could possess. "We can't assume anything," she said thoughtfully after a pause, "but the first step is to talk to Diem, gently, without pressuring her. Sometimes just knowing someone cares enough to notice can make all the difference." Toan nodded, feeling the knot of worry in his chest loosen just a little. He knew Tue was right. Whatever the situation, he wouldn't face it alone, and with her guidance, he could find the courage to approach Diem with honesty and care. In that moment, he felt a renewed sense of determination, a quiet, steady resolve to support Diem no matter what challenges lay ahead. Encouraged by Thue's words, Toan felt a fragile sense of hope as they decided to approach Diem gently. He found her in the quiet corner of the garden, sitting on a wooden bench with her hands clasped in her lap, eyes distant, as if lost in thoughts she hadn't yet dared to voice. The late afternoon sun bathed her in a warm glow, highlighting the subtle lines of fatigue that had recently begun to shadow her face. Tuan's heart ached at the sight, and he felt the familiar tug of protectiveness mixed with worry. Thuy followed closely behind, her presence calm and reassuring, like a lighthouse guiding him through the uncertainty that had clouded his mind. Diem, Thuy began softly, her voice gentle yet filled with a careful warmth. We've noticed you've been feeling unwell lately. Is there anything you'd like to share with us? Diem looked up, startled, her eyes reflecting a mixture of surprise and apprehension. There was a pause, a quiet, tense moment as she searched for the right words. The truth, though, seemed to weigh heavily on her, pressing on her chest in a way that made it impossible to hide any longer. With a hesitant breath, she finally admitted what had been troubling her: the unexpected delay in her menstrual cycle, coming right after her most intimate moments with Toan. Thuy's heart skipped a beat. She had anticipated that something might be amiss, but hearing it spoken aloud stirred a new level of concern. Carefully, she maintained her composure, masking the sudden surge of worry that threatened to surface. I understand, Diem. It's completely normal to feel anxious about this. You're not alone, and whatever the outcome, we'll face it together. Diem's eyes glistened with a mixture of relief and unease, grateful for Thuy's calm yet supportive approach. Toan, standing beside them, felt a rush of conflicting emotions: anxiety, hope, and a deep, almost overwhelming desire to protect her, to shield her from worry even as he struggled with the uncertainty himself. The atmosphere grew quiet again, filled with the gentle rustle of leaves in the garden and the distant hum of the city beyond. Louise's mind, however, was racing. Her intuition, sharpened over years of watching over her family, whispered a possibility that both startled and alarmed her. Diem might be pregnant. She knew better than anyone the importance of confirming such a delicate matter carefully and without panic. Yet she also understood the urgency. Waiting too long would only deepen Diem's anxiety. We don't need to jump to conclusions, Thuy said steadily but firm. But we should be sure. Toan, I think it's best if we take Diem to the hospital for a proper checkup, to see clearly what's happening. That way she'll know for certain, and we can support her fully. Toan nodded, feeling both the weight of the possibility and a sense of clarity. The path ahead might be uncertain, but it was no longer unclear. With Thuy's calm guidance and Diem's willingness to be honest, they could confront whatever reality awaited them together. And for the first time since the worry had begun to gnaw at his anxiety, Toan felt a tentative thread of hope weaving through his anxiety, a promise that no matter the outcome, they would face it united, with care, compassion, and courage. The following morning, the three of them set out together, the quiet tension mingling with a sense of shared purpose. Toan walked beside Diem, his hand lightly brushing hers in a tentative, reassuring gesture. He could feel her slight tremor, the subtle anxiety radiating through her, and his heart ached to ease her worry. Behind them, Thuy moved with a quiet determination, a pillar of calm strength. She had taken it upon herself to ensure that Diem felt safe, supported, and never alone through the uncertainty that now loomed before them. The city streets passed in a blur as their thoughts wandered between hope and fear, each step carrying them closer to a truth they both feared and longed to confront. Upon arriving at the hospital, they were greeted by the sterile yet strangely comforting scent of antiseptic. The waiting area buzzed faintly with the soft murmur of conversations and the occasional distant beeping of miracle machines. Diem's hand trembled slightly in Toan's as they took a seat, and he gave her a gentle squeeze, silently communicating that he was there, fully present. Thuy's eyes softened as she watched them, her protective instincts kicking in. She whispered a few words of encouragement to Diem, reminding her to breathe, to stay calm,
assuring her that whatever awaited inside the examination room, they would face it together. When the nurse finally called Diem's name, the trio rose, the air thick with anticipation. Diem's steps were hesitant, but Tuan's steady presence and Thuy's quiet support gave her the courage to move forward. Once inside the ultrasound room, the atmosphere was charged with an almost tangible mixture of hope and trepidation. Diem lay down, her fingers intertwined with Tuan's, while Thuy stood nearby, her gaze unwavering and full of comforting resolve. The technician performed the scan with professional precision, the rhythmic whirring of the machine filling the silence. Time seemed to stretch as the images flickered across the screen, each second a heartbeat of possibility. Finally, the technician turned the monitor toward them, her voice calm but deliberate. "Everything appears to be as expected," she said, a small smile hinting at reassurance. Relief washed over Diem in a sudden, overwhelming wave, and her shoulders, which had been tense with fear, slumped slightly as tears of relief glimmered in her eyes. Tuan's grip on her hand tightened briefly before he let out a long breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. Thuy exhaled, a soft smile spreading across her face, her eyes reflecting both pride and terror. The tension that had hovered over them for days lifted, replaced by a delicate balance of gratitude, love, and renewed trust. As they left the hospital, the sunlight seemed warmer, brighter, almost as if the world itself had acknowledged their moment of clarity. Tuan and Diem walked side by side, their fingers entwined, hearts beating in quiet unison. Thuy trailed just behind, her presence a reassuring shadow, silently vowing to continue protecting the fragile balance of their emotions and relationships. The uncertainty that once felt so suffocating was now replaced by a sense of unity and courage. They had faced their fear together and emerged with a deeper understanding of care, love, and the profound strength of honesty. And in that shared journey, they discovered that even the most daunting unknowns could be faced with courage, trust, and unwavering support.
Hello, xin chào tất cả các khán giả của bên Lý Tưởng Diễn Review. Vậy là tập phim của chúng ta đã kết thúc tại đây. Trong tập phim ngày hôm nay đã kể một câu chuyện, đó chính là chị gái của Toàn là chị Thúy đã phát hiện ra Diễm có những dấu hiệu rất là lạ khi mà chị Thúy đến nông trại của Diễm chơi với Diễm. Và điều đặc biệt hơn nữa lại trùng khớp với việc Lý Tưởng Diễm đang bị chậm tháng. Vậy liệu cô có phải là đang mang thai hay không? Điều đó khiến cho Diễm cảm thấy rất là hồi hộp lo lắng. Điều đặc biệt hơn nữa là chị Thúy cũng rất mong chờ điều này, bởi vì đó chính là con của Toàn. Mọi tình tiết hấp dẫn sẽ còn được kể ở các video tiếp theo. Các bạn hãy bấm vào nút đăng ký kênh để nhận được thông báo mới nhất về các video sẽ được phát sóng hàng ngày trên kênh nha. Cảm ơn các bạn rất nhiều. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại vào tập sau. Bye bye.